Need for Speed Underground was where it all started for me. Underground 1 and 2, they did get remastered, don't ask me when or where, but this video is about kind of the current gen Need for Speed games, and that goes with the Hot Pursuit Remastered. We're going to feature, of course, Heat and the newest, Unbound. How real is this? I am Couchcoop. This video is going to have loads of music in it. It's going to get slaughtered by the copyright or copywritten robot, so please drop me a like, please drop me a sub. We're going to go in big detail on these three games. I've got it into some categories, and I want to really talk about where the differences are, which one's the best one, which one looks good on current gen systems. All of the Heat footage is from the PlayStation 5. Now, my first category is kind of the open road, so it's a difficult one for Hot Pursuit. Hot Pursuit came out in 2012, and the remaster stayed to its rigid system of a mission-based structure. You're not open world, you're not free roaming, you're not looking for icons on a map. You are pushed certain missions in your direction. There is a free run mode, but it doesn't have any sort of police or icons in it. It's still nice to be able to have the opportunity to test your cars out.
Go kill it tonight! Whatever it is you're doing, it's working.
Unbound's map system is completely identical to the original Underground, even stuff like Burnout Paradise and of course Need for Speed Heat. Now, there's been some complaints about Unbound, and it's to do with the online microtransactions and a lot of skullduggery in that direction. All of this footage is offline. It gives you an offline option, and every one of these games can be enjoyed without anybody logging in, signing in. However, the EA access on my PlayStation 5 is getting a little bit annoyed with me not confirming that email address after 5 years, so watch out for that. So remember that he came out in 2019, and this is running on a PlayStation 5. What I get is pretty good resolution, but I'm certainly not pegged at 60. You can tell coming off the Unbound footage, but the game is gorgeous still. Strong lighting, great smoke effects, really good car detail, and just a rip-roaring attitude. It's very loud, it's very neon. I came up with some comedy names for these three games. I'll let you know them in a second. Heat also allows an instant transition from day and night, and a different game mode and police system around the nighttime racing, and it was the first one to do that, and Unbound completely follows suit with this system.
Best acceleration figures from a standing start ever for a Porsche, and a top speed nearing 200 miles per hour.
So great hearing that little synopsis from that lady. The next section is the photo mode. I'm sorry, I know, I get it out of the way early. Honestly, I won't drag this out. Hot Pursuit does quite well. It's just a weird thing. You can pause in game actually and rotate around, and you have your own garage. You can sort of look over all your cars, but there is no real meddling with the cars. We'll get to that in a second. This is Unbound's photo mode. Now, it took me a while to find it. You have to go into the options. It's into something called snapshot. You don't have it on the keys or the buttons as instant access, which is a little bit annoying, but it's kind of sucked me in, and I am guilty of spending way too much time in it. The rain and detail is really good on the car, but you don't have live weather during your capture section. That is a different story with Need for Speed Heat. If you followed me on social media for a number of years, you'll know that my Need for Speed Heat photo mode obsession got to borderline unhealthy. It's incredible. For the year it came out, it does show its age now with Forza 5 and a lot of Gran Turismo 7's material, but back then it was cracking. It was to do with its versatility and being able to put it on whenever you wanted, and this map had some really detailed buildings, murals, the grass didn't look too bad. Everything was just perfect for me, and it was the cars that it gave you to show off that really opened my eyes. Let's talk about these maps, because they're very interesting. This is Heat's map. It's massive. It's actually considered too big. There's too much going on and too much to do. I'm 60 hours into this game. I'm 60 hours in. I know, I'm as shocked as you, and I've barely opened much. There's a few story missions that are locked from a progression wall, but really I haven't explored everything up north, and there's quite a lot of detail to be had here. This is one of the more impressive things about the game. Pursuit, as we discussed, does have a map screen, and you do have a choice on what mission you go to, and the more interesting aspect about Hot Pursuit is that you can play as the police, separate police missions and separate police rankings. It's crazy. You can either be a criminal, push that game model all the way down, or do them alternately. I've kind of favoured being the sort of criminal, but the police have some damn good cars. But I wanted to illustrate you do have choice, but it is quite buttoned down when it comes to open world structure. Unbound's map looks suspiciously like Paradise City, ridiculously like Paradise City in areas, and that's an enjoyment for me. I like the idea of the dense grid system city in contrast with the sort of open world valley up north and west side of the map, which are very sort of elongated corners and quite laid back sections. It's cool to mix that up when it comes to developing missions or doing races. Now incidentally, races on Outbound, they cost money to actually enter, so there's a big strict economy wrapped around all of that. Let's talk about racing, let's talk about heat quickly, because the controls have slightly changed for this game, allowing a sort of easier access to drift just using the accelerator. So no whack on brake, you can just feather the accelerator, the car will unlock, you go into quite a predictionary drift arc. Now I do and don't like it. For me, it forces overcompensation. Going back into it after playing something like Forza Motorsport was really difficult. It was something I had to very much concentrate on, and that was not the case with Hot Pursuit. This is some eye of the needle weaving, 60 frames per second, smooth AF arcade racing on Pursuit. Absolutely gorgeous. You feel so in control, and it's the old school method of getting that brake to unlock the drift arc and just being able to hug the road perfectly. It's really good, and I was smiling every time I fired this up, and it doesn't look too bad either. Also got quite a traditional NOS system. The other games have a bit of complication on that front. Okay, Outbound, Jesus, where do I start with this? So you've still got the feathered unlock system on drift that you had from Heat, but you do have a slightly more workable NOS system, i.e. you don't have to use it all at once, and you have a two-tiered yellow bar and blue, meaning the different rewards go into different bars. You could charge two up essentially. It's quite deep actually, and it's quite satisfying, and also the racing is very, very white knuckle. I do not mind these visuals. The cell shading smoke is a goddamn joke. Why did they get a 7-year-old in at the last minute to put those visuals on? I don't know. Nothing says high-end Japanese race drifter like a pair of badly drawn bat wings. Alright, let's talk cars and the car roster. We'll start with Heat first. There's 128 bad boy cars in this game, and the high-end stuff is unreal. Now, this is something I want to touch on. Hot Pursuit does not let you tinker at all with the visuals of the cars. You get what you're given. But with this, you can buy something, you can tart it up and get it looking unreal. Like, it's so good. And then you switch to that photo mode. The next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. Notice you have the Aston Martin Vulcan in this, second from top tier. The top tier is that yellow car from the front cover, which I think is an American manufacturer. But let's just soak this car up for a minute. We will all own one of these if I make it big on YouTube, all of us. Unbound has a total of 143, so it does pip Heat on the car roster. And when you get the EA app, you get a bunch of free stuff to start with, which is pretty off the hook, to be fair. They've got a Nissan Silvera done up to look like something out of Wacky Racers. There's also quite a big delay on detail as well with these cars loading in, but their top end best car is the Vulcan. Again, come on guys, click that button, drop me a sub, we will get one of these. I reckon Mr. Beast has got one, right? He probably doesn't even drive it. He's probably got one but it's made from cake that turns out to be more expensive than the actual car itself. And then the cakes in his actual house are made of bits of Aston Martin Vulcan, edible bits. Absolutely identical tinkering system that we see in Heat, and it's welcome. It's even more simplified. We will get to that in a second. I feel bad for Hot Pursuit not having any of this. What it does make up for in that department is throwing really amazing sort of guest cars and one-off missions at you. Stuff like Bugattis and Lamborghinis will regularly get put into your roster for a one-off race. It's well cool, and the speed you feel going in these top-end cars is absolutely sensational. So back to tinkering very quickly, and without sounding too patronising, I'm not the most mechanically minded person. I understand car maintenance on quite a surface level, so going into any depth and detail with sliders and buggering around with camber is something I'm not up for. What it does with this, it color codes it. So it's like a purple, legendary, and you get drops, you slot them in. It's same for both games. He came up with a system before, and it just makes it almost RPG-like to put in your good stuff before going out on a mission. It's a very easily accessed and quite a new idea for racers, and I very much enjoy it because I'm a bit thick. Okay, so this section is about story, and I've got to cover Hot Pursuit first. There is nothing. You don't need any. It's cops or robbers right the way through, and no cutscenes, no stupid, annoying, self-centered characters. It's kind of perfect for me. Much prefer it like that. Okay, we're going to go with Heat first, and yes, there is a story. There's 3 like NPCs that you've got to sort of work up rank to interact with. You'll race them sometimes, there's dialogue sections. It's not too much of a heartbreaker or twisty plot line. The one thing I do want to cover is the characters in these 2 games. In the story, even you as a protagonist are absolutely terrible. They're supposed to be street, but you're driving around in a 70 grand car.
Rydell's rides. Need a lift?
Hey, name's Tess. Heard you might be a good person to call for a cheap ride. I'll hit you with the address and where I'm heading.
No sweat. I'll be there soon.
They're all obsessed with themselves and their mobile phones, and just the attitude towards glamorizing street racing doesn't fit very well with me. It's a bit like people fighting all the time, but when you get them in the boxing ring, they're not up for it. Are you with me? Really good racers, they do it on the track. The story in Unbound is unbelievable because you start with the biggest OP amount of cars and it all gets stripped and you get given this stupid Rydell's Bluebird. It's not a Bluebird. It actually slaps that car. Answers in comments about what other games do that at the beginning. Alright, it's time for the police section. Hot Pursuit does the DiCaprio point and click. Is its time to shine. But let's touch on Heat first, because holy hell, this is an incredible police system. Directly placed onto an open world map, and you have a ranking, you can get in more troubles, almost like a star system on GTA.
Be advised, 4221 is in pursuit. All available units, please respond.
Cutting them off. 4220, I've lost visual.
Unbound borrows that system, uses the sort of vision cone setup with the police looking for you either during a race or afterwards. You have to escape, and if you notice in the top center of the screen, you've got that flame with that figure. That is also a rank up, how much trouble you're causing. You also cash this in at the end of a race or the end of an evening. So it's got a very similar police structure. However, in early game and front end, they aren't that mean. They're an awful lot of fun to push around in early game, but there is a sort of internal police resistance ranking that you get on overall progression. So it's not always the case. There's bigger, badder, faster vehicles that are coming for you towards mid and end game.
Patrol here. Can't let you guys have all the fun.
I need another call. We just lost a unit.
Alright, it's so good. Hot Pursuit's anti-police weaponry and playing as the police with your spikes and putting things out, EMPs. It's all so cool feeling when you're being chased or chasing to sort of implement stuff to either smash the police car away, put spikes out. Your options are always there, and they just get bigger, more badass the more you start playing the game. I haven't even touched on the helicopter.
Suspect is resisting.
Their out and out aggression and the tools they'll use against you are relentless, and they are really powerful as well. It will sort of spawn in another police person and it will highlight what sort of car it is, and 9 times out of 10 it will be something that can just blatantly catch up with you or take more damage. There's almost like a boss fight situation going on sometimes. Playing as the police is also totally awesome, giving it a Burnout takedown feel with the cool cutscenes when you whack one of the criminals, and it's also got a very tough timer on it. You've got to be pretty damn aggressive, and you can't be like doing small swipes. You've got to get right next to them before committing. It's very cool finding that sweet spot with the nudge. For some reason, for out and out lunacy, I seem to find more crazy stuff going down in Heat with the police. I think it's because I'm further down the game with progression, but they do not stop. They also say really funny things to each other on the CB, and you can sort of dupe them into taking bridges too slowly, or just keep doing U-turns and watch them get in a right confuffle.
Yes! We got her to run over the spikes!
Got it. Copy.
Okay, it's time for conclusions. And one thing I have learned on this journey is that Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered is absolutely awesome. And I'm so glad I downloaded this. I think it was 2022. I think on a remaster level it could have been a slightly higher quality of graphic and maybe resolution, but it's really cool to see that they kept that structure. They kept the systems the same. It brought back a lot of memories, and one of the more important subjects, the music. The music on this game is just about best of the three, even if at times it does switch to full-blown film dramatic classical, which I suppose they put in on the chasers for effect.
Suspect's fighting back. I'm taking damage.
The music on Outbound is nothing short of a fucking embarrassment. I feel so sorry for the kids nowadays. As a fan of like 90s hip hop, like early 90s grunge, you know, I was lucky enough to live through drum and bass at its birth. It's all just shite now. What a nightmare. And Need for Speed Heat just about clasps some okay stuff. It's got some really funny like Europop in it, and you find yourself listening to it, and some of the rap is actually alright. It's not all auto-tuned SoundCloud ringtone mumblers. And that was really one of the reasons for the video back to the Heat subject, is that I wanted to review it on the PlayStation 5. Been sat on my hard disk since the PlayStation 4 Pro version, so I thought what a great idea to pull that up, see how it's performing. There wasn't that much implementation from backwards compatibility, but it bled me into thinking about Need for Speeds, checking out Game Pass and seeing that all three of these are available on that subscription service. I've tried really hard to dislike Unbound. I've tried, guys, but I love it. It's so addictive, and despite the cell shading smoke, it's a hell of a pleasure getting this going at 60 frames. I'm on medium settings. It's a real joy, and a lot of what's from Heat and Hot Pursuit is in here, so I'm not too sure if it's bad blood with a lot of the reviews. What order would I put them in? Well, it would have to go Hot Pursuit, Heat, and then Unbound. Unbound being the best. And my comedy names for them were Need for Speed Shortcut for Hot Pursuit. It's obsessed with shortcuts more than it is actually racing on tarmac. Heat should have been called Neon Drift, because you're barely racing any apex lines at all. And Unbound should have been called Need for Speed Doodle. Have been Couch Coop. We'll see you down there.